Hey everybody, according to the latest Social Security trustees report, the program is expected to run out of money entirely by 2034. That would be a big problem. There are a lot of ways we could potentially fix Social Security, and honestly, an eventual reform package is probably going to involve a combination of changes. We're going to talk about some of the ways we can potentially help fix Social Security without either raising taxes or cutting benefits. Before we dive in, please take a minute and check out the link you see on your screen, fool.com/mattf. The average retiree leaves thousands of dollars of Social Security benefits on the table. We don't want that to happen to you, so check out the link, fool.com/mattf. I put it in the description of the video as well. So let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So as I mentioned, Social Security is expected to run out of money in 2034. And that comes straight from the Social Security Board of Trustees. Most proposals to fix the program, and there have been a lot, but most fall into one of two broad categories: raising taxes or lowering benefits. And this doesn't just mean across the board tax increases or across the board benefit cuts. There's a bunch of different ways that this can look. For raising taxes, for example, you can just raise Social Security taxes on the highest earners. For lowering benefits, that could also include, raising the full retirement age, lowering benefits on the highest earners, and a bunch of other different variations. But there are some ways that lawmakers can consider that would not involve either tax increases or lowering benefits that could potentially help fix Social Security. As we'll see, they probably wouldn't fix it all by themselves, but it can make any tax increases or benefit reductions a lot less severe. So the first one, and I've talked about this before, is to diversify the investments. So Social Security makes money off of its reserves. As of the end of 2024, Social Security had about $2.75 trillion in reserves. Um, it's exclusively invested in Treasury securities. So in 2024, the program brought in $69 billion in interest income. Based on that lump sum of money they have, that translates to about a 2.5% return. Not that great. It's not bad. It was definitely worse a few years ago when interest rates were really low. But it's not nearly as much as you would expect from, say, a diverse portfolio of stock index funds or even from corporate bonds. So the logic is that by investing some of the reserves, not all, I'm not saying put all 2.75 trillion in the stock market, but by taking some and putting it in corporate bonds, stocks, and potentially other investments, we could theoretically boost the income long term to the program. But estimates find that this would only solve about 6% of the funding gap if we do it responsibly, which we certainly want to do. So it would help, but not by a ton. It would need to be a package of solutions, and this could be part of it. But that other 94% of the funding gap is going to have to come from somewhere. Another way is to change the way we figure out the cost of living adjustment. Each year, Social Security looks at how inflation has behaved over the past year and gives Social Security beneficiaries an increase in benefits if it's warranted. So this technically, I guess, would fall under the category of a benefit cut, but it wouldn't be an immediate one. It wouldn't change anything right away, but over time it could result in lower benefits than the current method. So the short version is if we index cost of living adjustments to what's called the chained CPI, Consumer Price Index, instead of the CPIW that is currently used, it would close an estimated 19% of Social Security's funding problem. That's a big amount. The problem is chained CPI is not the best indicator of inflation, especially for older Americans. The chained CPI, without getting too technical into it, essentially makes an assumption that if something gets too expensive, you're going to switch to a less, an inferior product or something to that effect. So not a great way in practice. This is very politically unpopular. Unlike the first one, a lot of people on both sides of the aisle have been in favor of changing the way Social Security's reserves are invested. They're not that in favor of changing the cost of living adjustment formula in a negative way. Even the current method, the CPIW of calculating cost of living adjustments, is seen as unfair by many. And a lot of people say it should be the CPIE, which is specifically designed to track inflation as related to older people. The problem is the CPIE historically would have resulted in higher cost of living adjustments and would make the program even less financially stable. So if that change were to ever happen, it would need to be part of a package that took into account the added cost of doing that and used other ways to offset that. So that is one way that we could potentially, help solve Social Security's funding problems. Number three, include more workers. So under current law, some state and local government employees don't have to pay into Social Security. They don't participate. They have their own retirement plans and things like that. So by requiring all new hires to pay into the system and eventually collect benefits, it would result in an increase in income, especially in the near term. If you required all new hires to pay into the system, you'd be getting income from a wider group of people, and down the road they would collect benefits when they reach retirement age. But in the near term, it would just be a pure income increase. Definitely a front-loaded solution. Um, over the next 75 years, which is what we consider the long term, this would help close 5% of the funding gap. So every little bit helps. It would definitely move things in the right direction. But after 75 years, this would actually start to increase the program's shortfall as more and more of these included workers reach retirement age and are drawing from the program instead of just having more people paying into it. So that's kind of where things stand in terms of non-benefit cut and non-tax increases. It's really tough to come anywhere close to fixing Social Security, especially if we avoid that politically unpopular cost of living adjustment change. It's really tough to come close to even to fixing the program without cutting benefits or raising taxes. But solutions like these can help lessen the need to do the more painful things like benefit reductions. And really, the Social Security Administration estimates the trust funds will run out in 2034, but the sooner we act, the easier these changes will be on American workers. So hopefully something's done in the not too distant future. I'll stop my share. Leave me any questions you might have. Hopefully you found that informative, and stay tuned right now for a message from the Motley Fool. Here's an interesting fact. Most retirees don't realize they could be missing out on almost $23,000 in extra Social Security benefits every single year. The truth is, Social Security has hidden strategies that could help you maximize your retirement income, but most people never take advantage of them. Luckily, our sponsor, The Motley Fool, has got you covered so you don't make that mistake. If you want to boost your benefits and retire with more confidence, go to fool.com/MattF right now to learn more about Motley Fool Stock Advisor.